Welcome back. It's Dr. Jen for Boney, better known as DocJenFit, your personal doctor of physical therapy. And I'm so excited to talk to my belly birth mamas about progressing in your rehab and movement journey to reconnect into your body after birth. Now, this is going to be more pertinent to about weeks 3 and 4. So now we have a little bit more movement. We're feeling a little bit more connected to your body, hopefully. And these movements are just going to help to push you a little bit more into that reconnection. However, if you need support in the first couple weeks, I have a rehab video just for you in order to start to reconnect. And I really highly recommend start with that video. Even if you're beyond and you're not in the first couple weeks, start with that video so you hear my cues and you hear the understanding of that core connection, because it's going to make a lot more sense in this video. Now, I also have videos on mobility. I have videos on scar mobilization and so much more to help support birth mamas, especially in that C-section. And if you have more questions, please drop them in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on all of these videos that I'm creating for you. Now, I do want to just make a little shout out to these leggings that I'm wearing. They're all the way up right to my rib cage because they are my postpartum compression leggings that really help to support me in my early weeks postpartum. I don't really wear them as much anymore, but they were so supportive in those first few weeks, especially just as I'm starting to move, reconnect to my core, and doing these rehab movements with them. So these are from Baobei. I have a little link that you can use that gets you 15% off of your first order, and use code DocJenFit to get that 15% off. Okay. Now, let's come on to your back here, and we're going to use the diaphragmatic breathing that I talked about in the other video, but this time we're going to integrate a little bit more with the pelvis. So I want to get a little bit more movement now with that core. So before we talked about not moving in the pelvis at all, but now I want to feel that activation, and I'm going to start to reconnect by turning on my hamstrings, pressing through my legs, and kind of getting my pelvis to tilt a little bit. Now, just relax in your body and pull your heels towards you, and you should feel that movement in the pelvis. Push your feet away, and you should feel that movement in the pelvis. So this is how we start to move and use our legs to help support with those pelvic tilts and with the core and diaphragmatic breathing. So I'm going to think of that big inhale, opening from that rib cage, opening from that belly, and then the exhale, I'm going to pull that rib cage down, pull that pelvic floor up, and I'm going to use my feet to kind of push and pull with me as I'm doing that breathing to help support and activate into my core even more. Okay, so as I breathe in and kind of open, I'm going to be pulling my heels toward my bottom. So breathing in, opening, and then breathing out, push my heels away from me and pulling that pelvic floor, rib cage down and kind of activating. And again, breathing in, heels pull toward me as I activate my hamstrings and then push away. And I feel a little bit of contraction in my glutes as I start to tuck that tailbone underneath me. Breathing in, opening, breathing out. So really getting that movement of that pelvis, that entire core wrapping with that pelvic floor. And now we're going to start to integrate a little bit more in the glutes and the hamstrings and the legs. So I start to really mimic what this will feel like in more exercise type movement. So doing this about 10 times, really feeling that opening, that closing, that pelvic tilting is really going to help so that you can control what's happening within your pressures and within your body and movement so much better. Now, this next one is called a supine march. So now I don't want to move in my pelvis at all. So I want to come back to that good diaphragmatic breathing, that hold with that pelvic floor. And I want to try to say, okay, now can I hold all of that together without letting it go, still being able to breathe, and now using my legs to help and march. So what that's going to look like is doing a big diaphragmatic breath, breathing in, breathing out, contracting from that pelvic floor, rib cage down, holding that. Now I should still be able to breathe from this rib cage as I hold the rib cage down and have a slight pressure of that pelvic floor up. It doesn't have to be super tight and contracted as much as possible, but we want that rib cage down, pelvic floor lifting, and some flattening here. Now, with that, I'm going to think about lifting my leg and slowly putting it back down, trying to keep that rib cage down, trying to keep that pelvic floor turned on. And again, breathing out, breathing in as it comes down, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in. And you don't have to come very high. If you feel like that's a lot, maybe you're just coming toward that toe and coming down, toward that toe and coming down. Maybe you're taking full breaks. So maybe you're lifting, and as you come down, then you relax and rest everything. And then you come into that good contraction again, and then lift. So this is all about kind of learning and listening to your body. You can break it down, make it slower as much as you need to really start to feel that core connection. Then we're going to start to integrate the glutes just a little bit more. So I like to turn the palms up so we use the back just a bit more and keep that chest open. And you're going to think of that good contraction again. So good contraction. Now I'm going to lift, holding that rib cage down, pelvic floor lifting, and I kind of am tilting just tightly under, just slightly actually, under in that pelvis, okay? So that I keep a straight line and I'm not arching into my back. So again, that's a good diaphragmatic breath, lifting that pelvic floor, holding that tight. I start to tuck my booty under just a bit. So I squeeze into my glutes and I keep that core nice and contracted. Now I'm going to try to lift one foot without letting my hips drop. Okay. Now it might not be a full march here. You might just be lifting to your toe. So start there. Lift from your toe. Lift to your toe. So heel coming up, trying not to move in those hips at all. And if you feel more comfortable, you can start to march a little bit higher. Maybe you're marching all the way up by the end of week 4. Who knows? But you're just starting it nice and gently, really listening to your body. All of these movements are meant to start to listen and integrate to your body, getting that deeper core connection. So once you go back to full movement, full exercise, you feel so much more supported with your body. So just one more to help you get back. So for this last one, we're going to kind of integrate exactly what we've been doing for those other exercises, but now in standing, because this is what makes it more functional. If we need to go upstairs a lot, if we need to just be moving and walking as we should be, right? So this is going to help to support that core, especially as we get those legs kind of moving with it as well. So I like to use a chair or some support so that you have something to press onto. So I would typically, when I was doing this, I was kind of using my dresser to kind of push down on, because that pressure down kind of helps to create that core pressure even more. Okay. So have something high enough that you can kind of press down on and then move with. So we're going to start with just kind of like the modified march, kind of like we did on our back. So I'm going to press down and I contract from that bottom of my core, lifting that pelvic floor, pulling that rib cage down, not crunching, but keeping my chest lifted as I press from my armpits, kind of pushing my arm, squeezing between my armpits, and then I lift just slightly and come down. So use a breath out. So again, standing tall, filling that core. And if you feel comfortable, that's when you can start to lift the feet a little bit higher. And if you feel more comfortable, then start to march even higher. Again, we're not crunching, but we're wrapping, kind of thinking hip bone to hip bone, pelvic floor lifting, rib cage coming down, all at the same time that my leg will be moving. So now I'm teaching my body, you can pull that inner core on prior to that hip flexor moving. And this is where people might get a lot of hip popping or cracks and noises in the hips a lot is when we don't integrate that deeper core with that hip flexor that's going to work as I move my legs. So we just have to reprogram that coordination. When we start to put this together, work on it even more, you're going to start to notice as you go into higher level rehab or exercise, you're going to feel so much more connected into your body. So stay tuned for future videos. And if you have more requests on how to start to move back into your body and reconnect with your body, especially after birth or a belly birth, please let me know in the comments below. Don't forget, if you love what you're learning, I have so much more in stock for you. So hit that subscribe button, check out the other videos I've done in the past, and leave any comments of any suggestions that you have for videos in the future. And I can't wait to help you feel incredible and amazing within your body.